What is up, my beautiful friends? We are back for the Get Unstuck podcast, episode number 333. My name is Heather Newman. If you are new here, welcome. We've been recording this for a while, but today we're talking about part 3. So if you haven't listened to the other parts, there's part 1, part 2 of Becoming Older Me, aging out of, excuse my language, aging out of fucks. It's based on an article and some science, like the brain science behind the awakening that happens in midlife that most people call a midlife crisis or your hormones or menopause, and all those things are true, but I was interested as a life coach. I was more interested in like what is happening emotionally? What is happening to my brain that, like, I don't know, the veil is just everything. I don't care. Like, I care. I'm a very caring person, but I'm not alone. The veil is thinning. The filter is thinning. You say what you mean. You don't worry about the judgment of other people. You can't stand to be around small talk and fakeness anymore. And it's like, you know what? No, I'm done. The quality of time that I spend with people is going to be based on the energy I want to be around. Anyway, let's get into it. Get Unstuck podcast episode 333 today. We are diving into part 3 of this little series, Becoming Older Me. I'm sharing, the powerful article that I'm referring to is from November 13th of 2025, an article called Aging Out of Fucks, and explaining the real neurological, hormonal, emotional, and psychological shifts women experience in midlife. So this episode, we're going to talk about why women stop people-pleasing in midlife, hormonal recalibration and emotional boundaries, nervous system exhaustion and chronic stress, why, like I said, the veil lifts as we age, the neuroscience behind awakening and clarity. I'm a talking like third grade level because I'm not like a science geek or anything. I just want it to be relatable and understandable. Something we can all understand and relate to, right? Emotional labor, burnout, self-abandonment, why women over 40 and especially 50, especially 55 begin changing priorities, and how boom became or is becoming a daily practice for healing and reconnection. You know, I do and have done life coaching for so long, and finally I'm putting all that into a big practice that is going to be a Bible basically for women who, if any of these episodes relate or relatable for you, you can relate to them. Boom is going to be something that you're going to want to get your hands on, because it's not about becoming bitter. It's not about becoming difficult or selfish. It's about becoming unavailable for abandoning yourself. And I'm taking all of my education, my skills, my experience, putting it all, and my story, putting it into Boom. And it's going to be over 300 pages. It's on pre-order now. It's going to drop mid-June. I should be completed with it. But if you've been feeling different lately, more clear, more exhausted by fake dynamics, less willing to tolerate dysfunction, more aware of your own needs and peace, this episode will explain exactly why. And all of this full article is going to be inside of Boom. And again, Boom is available for pre-order at glitteru.com/boom. So, welcome back, like I said, to the Get Unstuck podcast. We are continuing part 3 of the series. Honestly, I think this conversation is one of the most important conversations I've had in a very long time, because I think so many women are quietly experiencing this shift internally, but nobody has really given language to it, or maybe some women can't even sit with it long enough. Like if you're one of those people that has to keep busy, keep going, keep moving, keep all the things, because once things get still and quiet, it's hard to understand the conversations in your head, because no one's given it language unless you've been to therapy, right? And I'm not a therapist. What's interesting in this series didn't come from some like strategic content plan. Boom came to me at around 4 a.m. I didn't look at the clock. It was around 4 a.m. during a thunder and lightning storm. April 9th of 2026. And the only way I know how to describe it is I felt like I got another download. I talk about the Get Unstuck podcast, Get Unstuck, You Are Not a Tree, from 2018 when I got a download, a touch, a message, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. You can think I'm crazy if you want to, but I can't explain it. I woke up at 3:13 a.m. and I had this like urge, nudge to get out of bed. I went to my desk. At the time, it was facing a wall. I used to do some Zoom calls and some other meetings online, coaching online in this space. And I went to that exact space and I grabbed a piece of paper, and I'm going to look for that paper because I know I never threw it away and I need to frame it. I drew a tree, and the only way I know how to describe it is it felt like a download. It was sudden, clear, loud. That download was the first one I had ever gotten. Like, I've had thoughts before of, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'm sure you have too. And I call them little God nudges, or little, like, pay attention to those. They're not real loud usually, but this one was. So the Get Unstuck was the tree. And if you don't know about that story, you can go back and listen to some other podcasts. That's how the podcast came to be. That's how this podcast happened in 2019. But this is the second time this happened to me. And, 2025, I did find myself not diving into my Bible as much as I had been in the past. I'm not going to lie. And some things in my life started changing. And it wasn't necessarily for the good. I had some struggles. We all do. Anyway, let's talk about Boom. Boom came to me at 4 a.m. on April 9th, 2026. And the only way I can describe it is another download, just like the Get Unstuck download that I got. Nudge, God nudge. It was sudden, it was clear. This one was loud. And it was boom, like lightning, thunder, whatever woke me the fudge up. The whole house shook. And all I can say is that title is what I'm meant to share. And that is probably everything wrapped up with a bow. Becoming older me. And when that phrase landed, I immediately knew this wasn't about age in the traditional sense. It wasn't about anti-aging. It wasn't about trying to look younger. It wasn't about panic around wrinkles or trying to become smaller. It was about awareness. It was about finally getting clarity or seeing clearly. It was about reaching a stage of life where pretending just doesn't work anymore. And then recently I came across an article from November the 13th of 2025. I just found it, but this is when it was published, called Aging Out of Fucks. Excuse my language. I'm reading the title. And I swear it hit me like a ton of bricks because it finally explained the science behind what so many women are feeling, not just emotionally, but neurologically, physiologically. And honestly, I don't think women deserve to not have, like, women do deserve, let me say, this conversation, because I'm tired of every midlife conversation turning into, take this peptide, fix your hormones, you're broken, lose weight, stay skinny, fight aging, look younger. Like, no, I'm freaking tired. I don't want to spend the second half of my life obsessing over shrinking myself. I just want peace. I want strength. I want clarity. I want a healthy nervous system. I want to feel like I'm living fully without constantly needing to escape. I quit drinking in 2017. It was September the 14th of 2017. That was my anniversary. I had my last glass of wine and I said, you know what? I'm quitting. I don't need it. I don't want it. I feel like shit the next day. And I know I'm not alone in that. I don't judge you if you drink. I have a lot of fun with a lot of friends that love to drink. But this article talked about several neurological and hormonal shifts that happen in midlife. And the first one was hormonal recalibration. Wait, let me check this. Are we still here? Yeah. As estrogen declines, it changes emotional responses and social bonding behaviors. And this part hit me deeply because you're not becoming hormonal in a like dismissive way that society says. You're becoming less chemically compelled to prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own. Read that again. Or say that again. You're becoming less chemically compelled to prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own. Because how many women have spent decades over-explaining or over-accommodating or over-functioning, managing everyone else's emotions while abandoning themselves. And then suddenly in midlife, something changes. You don't have the same tolerance anymore. And maybe for the first time in your life, you start listening to yourself. The article also talked about changes in the prefrontal cortex, basically the part of the brain tied to executive function or social judgment. It starts functioning differently. I knew it. I knew something was different, but yeah, we grow up, we're wiser, right? But meaning your brain literally becomes less invested in what everybody else thinks of you. That's huge, you guys, because women are conditioned from such a young age to constantly socially monitor, to keep the peace. Don't upset people. Be nice, be agreeable, be accommodating. Don't be too much. And then one day, something shifts and you realize, wait, why have I been carrying everybody else's emotional baggage, maybe? I don't know, for decades while disconnecting from myself. And honestly, that can feel uncomfortable at first because when you stop performing emotional labor, systems that depended on your emotional labor start reacting. Even when I stopped drinking, the reaction from others was like, wait, that's how we bonded. That's what we knew to do together. So relationships react, family dynamics react, friendships react, work environments react. So it's very easy to fall back into, let me be small again. Let me just be the good girl. Let me just keep the peace again. Or let me just have a drink again. Or that version of you that overfunctioned helped keep certain systems operating in your life. And when you start changing that, other people feel it too. So the article said something so powerful. Instead of examining why the system needed your performance to function, people blame you for withdrawing it. And that line sat with me for days because I felt that. I still feel it. But I'm navigating it. And I know that I stand in my values. I stand in who I am and who I want to be. And nobody's going to take that from me. Because I made it too small, too quiet for too long. Because I think so many women experience guilt in that moment that they, when you decide to stop self-abandoning, you feel guilty. The moment that you say no, the moment that you rest, most women feel guilty when they rest. There's a lot of women that, if they're stay-at-home moms or if they're younger and they were in that season of life where they were staying home with the kids and they literally sat down for a minute on the sofa because they were freaking tired, if their husband or a kid walked in the door, they would hop up immediately and pretend to be doing something. It's like you feel guilty to rest, to listen to your body. Why? And I want my friends, my girls, my sisters, I love you. If you're still here and you're listening, I want you to understand this. That discomfort does not mean you're wrong when you actually listen to yourself. Get honest with yourself. It may actually mean that you're finally becoming aligned with who you are. And don't be shy. Don't be afraid of who you are. Become who you want to be. Know the qualities that you have in life. Know your values. Know what you stand on. I stand on being respectful. I stand on kindness. I stand on honesty. I stand on quality over quantity. I stand on godliness, faithfulness, and not religion. I'm talking about being spiritual and having faith. I'm not talking about religion. I don't care if you go to church or you don't go to church. Religion is very different from being spiritual and faithful. And honestly, that explains so much. Women walking around exhausted, inflamed, disconnected, numb, overstimulated, emotionally drained, not because they're broken, but because their nervous systems have been overloaded for years. And eventually your body says, that's enough. Your brain says, that's enough. Your soul says, that is enough. And then comes the shift in priorities. Your energy becomes very precious. Time feels finite. Pretending becomes exhausting. And suddenly you care more about peace than performance. You care more about authenticity, being authentic, than approval. You care more about health than image. And honestly, I think this is the awakening, not the breakdown, but the awakening. And this is exactly why Boom matters so much to me, because Boom 2026 is not some random wellness thing. It's over 300 pages of practices, tools, reflection, nervous system awareness, emotional awareness, habit shifts, healing conversations, and reconnection. It's for the woman who feels like something inside of her is changing, but she doesn't fully have the words for it yet. And she's finally okay with learning about it. The woman who's tired of running on empty. The woman who wants to escape herself and finally come home to who she is. That could be inside of your marriage. There's a lot of women that I talk to that feel single in a marriage. And we're going to talk about that in Boom too. And I really believe this conversation is going to help women understand they are not crazy. You are not crazy, my friend. You are awakening. So if this episode resonated with you, I want you to share it with another woman who feels or who you feel needs this conversation. Boom is available now for pre-order at glitteru.com/boom. And episode 333, part 3, Aging Out of Fucks, starts right now. I'm going to read some of the article for you, so hang tight. All right, my girls, we are back. I took a small little intermission there so you can grab a sip of water. The last time, part 2, we talked about the fear that comes with liberation. You've been rewarded your entire life for becoming accommodating, easy, pleasant, not too much. The positive feedback loop of being liked is very powerful, and you're now breaking that loop. You might find yourself afraid that you're becoming that woman, like I'm doing air quotes, that woman, the bitter, difficult one that everyone avoids. You will lose relationships, and that's okay. More on this later. The relationships that you lose, it's because God is purging. God is decluttering what's not working for you anymore. If you're wanting to change to happen, you're going to have to make some changes. And unfortunately, that's going to have some people fall off that were never meant to be in your circle anyway. You're going to find yourself afraid that you're being selfish or even narcissistic. You're not. Do not feel guilt. You're going to find yourself afraid that you're overreacting or being too sensitive. Ironic, since you're actually being less sensitive to other people's reactions. These fears are totally valid, and let's pick up on the article. The article, and I'm going to be reading this verbatim, the article talks about what you're actually gaining in this season. Here we go. Let's be explicit about what's actually happening when you, quote, lose your filter. You're gaining authenticity, the real you, The one who's been submerged under layers of performance is finally coming to surface. This might feel harsh because authentic humans have edges. They have opinions. They have boundaries. These are not character flaws. You're gaining time because all the energy that you spent managing everyone else's experience, that is now available for, it's not available for anything else. It's the return on investment is staggering. You're gaining clarity. When you stop cushioning every truth, reality becomes very clear. Problems that were obscured by diplomatic language becomes visible and therefore solvable. Now here, you are gaining real relationships because, like I said, some relationships will end when you stop people pleasing. These were transactional relationships. Love is unconditional. These relationships that fall off when you stop people pleasing, hear me, they were transactional relationships. They were sustained by your performance. What remains are connections based on who you actually are. Now, the relationships that don't survive. This one's hard. I'm going to talk about it more inside of Boom, but this is still part of the article. This is hard to talk about, but it's necessary. Some relationships will not survive your refusal to keep pretending. Friendships built on shared complaining, but not actual intimacy, not actual deep work, not actual deep connection. Work relationships that relied on you doing emotional labor for others that they weren't doing. Family dynamics where you played the mediator or the peacemaker or the emotional manager. When you stop playing all these roles, when you stop, one of two things will happen. The relationship evolves into something more authentic, or it dissolves because it was never based on authentic connection in the first place. Both outcomes are information. Losing relationships because you stop performing isn't actually loss. It's clarity about what was never really there. How do you navigate this transition? If you're in the thick of this shift, here's what helps. Here's what'll help. Name what is happening. Like, I'm not becoming difficult. I'm becoming authentic. My brain is reorganizing around honesty instead of performance. Language matters. The story you tell yourself about this change shapes your experience of it. Expect resistance. When you stop over-functioning in relationships and systems, others will push back. This isn't evidence that you're doing something wrong, and you'll find yourself, this is me editing, ad-libbing, you'll find yourself wanting to just go back to the way things were because it was just easier for you to pretend, for you to be the peacemaker, for you to people please everybody else. But this is actually information. You're not doing anything wrong. It's evidence that you were doing too much before. Whew, some of this is heavy and deep, huh? We're getting close. We're at 23 minutes, so I'm going to have a part 4. Oh my gosh, this is longer than I thought. Great series, though. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for all the feedback. Keep the feedback coming. Let's finish these. I got 3 more to talk about, and then we'll close it up. We're talking about navigating this transition. Practice the pause. You don't have to swing from people-pleasing to being brutally honest overnight. Notice that when you're about to cushion or apologize for something unnecessarily, I want you to pause. Choose consciously whether to add the cushioning or not. Find your people. Other women going through this same shift, they exist. They're tired of pretending too. These relationships will feel very different. They will feel so authentic. They will feel so comforting, less performative, and just more substantial. You'll feel it. You'll know. And then grieve if you need to. There is loss here. Loss of approval, loss of being liked by everyone, loss of your identity as the nice girl, the good girl. This grief is legitimate even as the change is ultimately positive. I'm going to talk real quick on this article. They talk about the unexpected gift, and then we'll wrap it up. Here's what no one tells you about aging out of fucks. It's practicing for being fully alive. Every small death of your ego, every shedding of other people's opinions, every moment that you choose truth over approval, you are rehearsing the ultimate letting go, becoming detached. You're learning to exist as yourself, regardless of external validation. This is a spiritual awakening, I guess some people call it. This is spiritual work masquerading as social rudeness. This is spiritual work masquerading as social rudeness. You're not being rude. You don't have to be rude. You can still be kind and respectful in everything. But when you start setting those boundaries, and maybe you didn't before, people will look at you differently. Like, oh, wait, she was kind of like a little doormat before. What is happening? What is happening? This is not comfortable for me anymore. The woman who can say that is not accurate without apologizing is the same woman who can eventually face her own mortality without flinching. She's practiced not needing everyone's approval. She's learned that her worth isn't contingent on being the people pleaser. Next time, part 4, we'll pick up on you're not becoming difficult, you're becoming free. I am so grateful that you are here, and I hope that this resonated with you. If this resonates with you, boom is for you. I'm telling you, it's a practice, and we're not going to stop. All right, I love you so much, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.